I'm from Jamaica myself, and in 2016 they tried to deport me because I refused to get the biometrics card, yeah? So there's other people that's born here, but because their mum's not British, they're being deported. So I just wanted to raise it with people so they know if your mum's not British and you go get yourself arrested, you could end up being deported. Or even if you apply for college and you don't know that your mum's not born here, or your mum weren't British at the time when she had you, you could be deported. Because enough people are getting deported, they don't even know why. Welcome to the Gwenton Show. So today we're in Edmonton Green. And what we're doing, we're touching on a very important point, because a lot of my clients that I work with are born in the country and don't know that they are liable to be deported if they're arrested. And you're probably wondering, how could you be deported if you're born in the United Kingdom? This is something that they don't tell you until you either apply for university, or you apply for a loan, or you even try to get married. And then you find out that you can be deported. So what we're doing today is raising awareness for people in the community, for them to understand that not because you're born in the United Kingdom, it means, it means that you're entitled to a British passport. This is one of the last Caribbean shops within North London that sells the produce that people could come and get that they couldn't get anywhere else. Check with your family about your status before it's too late.
Now, let's move ahead with our video. The Child's Rights Impact Assessment for the Illegal Migration Bill was published by the government on the 4th of July 2023. Interestingly, the document sheds light on accommodation, detention, removals, age assessments, modern slavery, and safe and legal routes. Moreover, it also covers the bans on grants of leave and citizenship, along with the confiscation of electronic devices. Diving into the details, the assessment confirms that the government is busy reviewing its current policy position concerning the use of force or physical intervention to assist the Home Office in removing families with children under this bill. It further added that minors are currently safe from forceful compliance or removals. Plus, the government doesn't favor the use of reasonable force under the new bill unless it becomes necessary. It's important to note that a targeted consultation is expected before finalizing any changes to the policy. In addition, the assessment talks about assessing children's age with the help of scientific tests and removal from the UK. Don't forget that a challenge to age assessment is currently underway. But the government is confident that the bill will lead to a positive impact, even though it contains several proposals that could affect children negatively.
The passport office didn't recognise me as British, even though I was born here, have lived here my whole life and have never left the country. Right now I feel really at a loss of what to do, because you just kind of feel powerless, like some faceless person somewhere or an institution can decide something that is so, like, such a massive part of your life. Everything that I'm being penalised for is just something that's all the things that are just not in my control. Like, all I did was be born.
Angela Jones is British. She was born in the UK. Her parents were British. She's never even left the country. So why isn't that good enough for the Home Office?
So I made a recent passport application which was rejected. The passport office didn't recognise me as British, even though I was born here, have lived here my whole life and have never left the country. I also don't have parents anymore, and my mum died a British citizen and my dad was British. I was told to apply for citizenship as a stateless person. The term stateless in of itself, it implies that you have no rights in a country, but I have all the rights to and can provide all the documents to live, buy a house, work, vote, drive and study here. I just don't have the right to leave. I recently left drama school and started getting auditions for TV series and filming opportunities around the world. So growing up, I didn't have the opportunity to travel abroad, just financially, my family couldn't afford it. And now that I'm like a working professional and it's part of my job, I decided, okay, I should get a passport now. I rang the passport office because I don't have a lot of my parents' documents and things like that. So I called them just to double check that I've got what I need. And an advisor spoke to me and advised that I send off my birth certificate, British, my mum's death certificate, and a covering letter just explaining my situation. My brother did the same thing, sent it off, applied online, just paid the usual fees. And yeah, 2 weeks later, my brother had his passport and I got the response that I couldn't get one. I rang up the passport office. I explained to them the situation and also that my brother has one, and we both sent it off. And they said that they couldn't really explain why his went through and mine didn't, but that they couldn't backtrack on the decision that had already been made, and that it's up to the discretion of the examiner. So my brother might have got a different examiner to me, and the person who looked at my case decided themselves that I couldn't have a passport and that I wasn't British.
In an email, the Home Office told Angela that because her mother was not a British citizen when Angela was born, she's not entitled to citizenship, and her father's citizenship doesn't come into play because her parents weren't married when she was born.
So my mum was born in Malawi, moved to this country before I was born and also never left. She got her citizenship before she died when I was around 16 and my brother was about 15 years old. And I've never known another country. Like, I've never been to Malawi before. So they actually, in my rejection letter, said that if I apply for British citizenship, it might get in the way of my Malawian citizenship. And it was kind of ridiculous. I was like, who said I had Malawian citizenship? I have never had Malawian citizenship. That they just automatically assumed that I do. And then after telling them that I don't, they said that I had to apply as a stateless person. It just feels like the person who looked at my brother's case obviously looked at it with basic human understanding of a young person, no parents, who hasn't never known another place. Of course, you would naturally give them a passport. You wouldn't deny them the rights that they should have. But it is just such a cold, like, unfeeling with no understanding response that it's just indicative of their unwillingness to admit that they've made a mistake. Right now, I feel really at a loss of what to do, because you just kind of feel powerless. Like some faceless person somewhere or an institution can decide something that is so, like, such a massive part of your life, like such a massive part of my life as a global citizen. And also seeing how the system, the bureaucracy of the system can impact so many different people. Like, this is just one case, but it's really enlightening on how the system works as a whole. So it makes me feel really angry and also powerless. This is my mum when she first came to the UK when she was younger. I think she's probably, no, she would have been older than my age around this point. So her husband and the father of my older siblings passed away, and she came here. Mainly, a lot of it was she thought education was really important, and education in British schools she saw as, like, in British universities, she saw as like a good opportunity for her children, and yeah, a lot of opportunities and other things. I think she would be really sad because, you know, I've always wanted to act and go to drama school, and I've had such big ambitions for myself that she's always been really proud of. And I think that, yeah, it would make her upset to know that just I'm really struggling with something that's so like out of my control. And it is just weird that like everything that I'm being penalized for is just something that's all the things that are just not in my control. Like all I did was be born here, and yeah, just to not be able to leave is such a weird dystopian thing.
Stateless people are people who do not have a nationality of any country. This prevents them from accessing fundamental rights and political, economic, cultural, and social rights that most people take for granted. Without nationality, they may not get an ID card, a passport, or any other proof of nationality. Doing day-to-day things can be a huge challenge for stateless people. Without nationality, they may not be able to travel to other countries, to see a doctor, to find a place to live, and even to get married. It may also be impossible to get an education, to work legally, to start a business, and to open a bank account. All of this prevents them from providing for themselves and their families, and may force them into poverty and destitution. As they are unable to access certain rights, move freely, and work, many fall victim to abuses, exploitation, and human trafficking. The main cause of statelessness is discrimination based on race, religion, ethnicity, or gender. Many are stateless because they were stripped of or are denied a nationality because they belong to a certain group or population that is being discriminated. Statelessness is often passed down from generation to generation. Another cause of statelessness is when states disappear and new states and territories emerge. People in these new states may not get a nationality. Many stateless people have little to no support to change their situation. This makes them extremely vulnerable. Statelessness is not a small problem, but an invisible one. Today, there are believed to be millions of stateless people around the world. The only way they can escape this fate is if countries decide to grant them a nationality.
Did you know an individual born to European Economic Area parents in the UK between the 1st of January 1983 and the 1st of October 2000 automatically gained British nationality? This policy has been in effect for a long time. However, the Home Office suspended it earlier this year after identifying certain legal issues with the automatic acquisition of British citizenship. Fortunately, the authorities were able to resolve those problems, restoring a popular pathway to the automatic acquisition of British citizenship. Now let's dig a bit deep into automatic British citizenship. Interestingly, individuals were able to automatically become a British citizen until March 2023 by fulfilling the following factors. Being born in the UK on a date between the 1st of January 1983 and the 1st of October 2000. At least one parent had citizenship of a country included in the European Union or European Economic Area at the time. Or the parent had free movement rights at the time while living in the UK. In addition to this, the parents of the individual trying to obtain automatic British citizenship should have been married at the time of the applicant's birth. What's interesting to note is that a person can continue applying for a British passport if they meet these conditions. This is what the Home Office called automatic acquisition. This policy is widely known as the ultimate route to British nationality for thousands of aspirants. However, you'll be happy to know that the new legislation inspired the Home Office to reverse its position after the case of Rorig. Getting into the specifics, the British Nationality Regularisation of Past Practice Act 2023 became effective on the 30th of June 2023. Furthermore, it confirms that European Economic Area nationals who lived in the UK between the 1st of January 1983 and the 1st of October 2000 will be managed as settled for nationality reasons. Children who are born in the UK will be. The good news is that automatic acquisition eligible candidates. Needless to say, this is exciting news for people who could be eligible under this route, including those who have already acquired British nationality by automatic acquisition. Now, people applying for a British passport for the first time under the automatic acquisition route are advised to pay attention to the Home Office requirements for supporting documents and more.
Nearly 6 million people in England and Wales could become eligible to be stripped of their British citizenship without warning under new plans proposed by the government. The new rules would apply disproportionately to people from non-white ethnic minorities. We looked at census data to see how many people this bill could apply to, and we found that 2 in every 5 people from an ethnic minority could be eligible to be deprived of their British citizenship, compared to just 1 in 20 people from a white background.
This is something that's really disturbing because we've seen the Home Office say that citizenship is a privilege and not a right, but what they're really saying is that for a lot of white people, citizenship remains a right, but for a lot of black and brown British people, it's something that's becoming more precarious by the day.
People with ethnic minority heritage become effectively sort of second-class citizens.
Anyone with dual citizenship can already have their citizenship revoked if the Home Secretary believes that it is in the public interest to do so. That includes anyone born to Bangladeshi, German, French, Italian parents, even if they've never acquired a second passport. The government can also remove the citizenship of people without dual nationality, so long as they were born outside the UK and their behaviour is considered seriously prejudicial to vital British interests. The proposed Nationality and Borders Bill would extend these powers even further. Clause 9 of the draft bill states that the government doesn't need to notify those deprived of their citizenship if it does not have their contact details or if it is for any other reason not reasonably practicable to do so. It also states that notice should not be given if it is in the public interest not to do so.
It more or less gets rid of any of the checks and balances that we have in this process, which means that you can lose all of your rights as a British citizen based on the Home Secretary, one person, saying that should happen, and you might lose any chance of getting a court or someone else to look at it because it would all happen in secret.
The big question, which isn't really answered by the legislation as it's drafted, is what happens when you do know about it? Will you then be entitled to appeal? How will you be able to appeal? What will the process be?
I approached the Home Office for a response, and they insist that those deprived of citizenship still possess the right to appeal. My analysis of data from the 2011 census found 5.6 million people in England and Wales that are likely to be eligible for deprivation of citizenship, either because they were born abroad and are likely to be eligible for another citizenship, or because they're already dual nationals. That includes an estimated 408,000 people born in the UK. Eligibility often depends not just on where you were born, but on who your parents were. The main estimate assumes that if you were born in, say, India, you probably had at least one parent who was an Indian citizen at the time of your birth. If we loosen that to assume that both parents were citizens of the birth country, that adds another 390,000 people. Between 2006 and 2017, 199 people were stripped of their citizenship, with 104 cases in 2017 alone.
The government has had these powers, it says, for 100 years. It's almost never used them before the last few years. They were very rarely used. European governments more or less, I think, refused to use citizenship stripping powers after they saw the extent to which the Nazis used them. And really, for a long time, they were used in a few cases, for example, with Russian spies who were discovered and had their citizenship stripped. And recently, we have seen a huge uptick from maybe 1 or 2 or 3 people being stripped of citizenship in a year under Theresa May as Home Secretary. Between 2016 to 2017, it went from 14 people being stripped in 2016 to 104 in 2017.
In 2019, former Islamic State supporter Shamima Begum, who was born in London as a British citizen, was stripped of her UK citizenship.
Please find enclosed papers that relate to a decision taken by the Home Secretary to deprive your daughter Shamim Begum of her British citizenship. In light of the circumstances of your daughter, the notice of the Home Secretary's decision has been served on file today, 19th February, and the order removing her citizenship has subsequently been made.
She didn't have a foreign passport, but the government argued that she was technically a Bangladeshi citizen, and therefore the law allowed for her citizenship to be removed.
These decisions are made very carefully. Where citizenship deprivation is being considered due to national security concerns, decisions are based on advice and intelligence from the security services, from counter-terrorism police, and specialist security and legal officials in the Home Office. When people dedicated to keeping our country safe give an informed recommendation, any Home Secretary should listen very carefully.
In February 2021, the Supreme Court ruled in favour of the Home Office's decision to bar Begum from returning to the UK to appeal her loss of citizenship. The single largest group of people eligible for deprivation of citizenship are those born in India. Around 431,000 residents of England and Wales were born in India at a time when the country offered citizenship to anyone born there. A further 204,000 are likely to be eligible if they were born with at least one parent who was an Indian citizen at the time of their birth. Pakistani-born British people are also particularly exposed because the country offers citizenship to anyone born there after 1951. More than 417,000 residents of England and Wales are likely to meet this criterion, with another 65,000 likely to be eligible if they were born to at least one Pakistani parent.
The great philosopher and thinker Hannah Arendt said citizenship is the right to have rights. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948 sets out all the rights to which we are all entitled by virtue of being human. As a matter of practice, you need a nationality in order to get access to these rights.
The Home Office says that deprivation of citizenship is only used as a last resort against those that pose a serious threat to national security, such as foreign fighters returning from Syria. However, human rights organisation Reprieve has warned that the bill could lead to trafficking victims being stripped of support. Reprieve estimates that 63% of British women currently detained in northeastern Syria are victims of trafficking.
Coming back to the video, the plans to fix the optics of UK immigration could mean foreign nationals interested in obtaining British citizenship have to wait longer. What's interesting to note here is that the officials at the Home Office are thinking about extending the criteria of continuous residence from 5 to 8 years before anyone's issued an indefinite leave to remain. Don't forget, an indefinite leave to remain marks the first step towards citizenship. A few other changes they wish to implement include the following. The applicant must have worked or attended an educational institute in the UK for 2 years. A strict threshold of criminality will be enforced, which would require applicants to not have been convicted of a crime for at least 10 years. Lastly, the exemption granted to people aged above 65 years from tests about life in the UK would also be lifted. It should be noted, all these changes come after Rishi Sunak decided to make stricter immigration policies. He recently mentioned to a group of European leaders that dealing with rapidly growing migration should be prioritized internationally. On top of that, a government source stated that obtaining British citizenship is more of a privilege than a right. Those who wish to obtain it should earn it by contributing to the country. The source further remarked on the significance of everyone being able to speak in a common tongue.
It's made me feel quite powerless. I just think that they have treated the whole situation so callously, and just without any kind of compassion. It doesn't make sense. And even speaking to certain employees over the phone, they themselves have admitted that it doesn't make sense. But it's so stubborn to not it's so simple to rectify, but no one's willing to do so.